Hey there, we're back with another spring edition of NIU Weekly, and it was another banner week in the world of Husky athletics. I'm Terry Bonadonna, here to break it all down with you. We're going to talk about a record-breaking week for a number of our athletics teams here at NIU. Baseball, softball, women's tennis, all set new NIU records, and we're going to share those with you a little bit later. We're also going to get to a big interview with another new member of the defensive coaching staff for the NIU football team. So we got a packed show today. Before we get any of that, though, I want to make sure that you're making plans to head out to DeKalb on Saturday, April 26th, because that is a full day of Husky sports and activities. Of course, we know about the NIU football spring showcase. That starts at noon. The NIU softball team is also in action at 1, and baseball is taking on Western Michigan at 2 o'clock. So in the span of a couple of hours, you got 3 major athletic events here at NIU. And then the men's soccer team is playing a spring scrimmage against Lewis at 3 o'clock. So you've got 4 events, all free to attend, all in walking distance to one another. It's going to be a fun day. Let me break it all down for you because it starts at 10 o'clock with the Husky tailgate. Always a popular event to go along with the tailgate is the annual surplus sale. The Husky tailgate is going to be in the area between the Chesak Center and the baseball field. It's on the west side of the football stadium. The surplus sale will be inside the Chesak Practice Center. So the surplus sale, if you're not aware, leftover items from the NIU teams, team gear, a lot of it completely brand new at prices that start at just $5. T-shirts, shorts, hats, shoes, cleats, even game-worn jerseys. Victory Threads is also going to be set up in the tailgate, and they'll be having a blowout sale as well. That includes all of their leftover Notre Dame gear. So if you don't have your No Luck Needed T-shirt, you can get one there. Boneyard hoodies will also be deeply discounted, and there will be other items as well. This is important. All concessions on that day are also all cashless. So be prepared for that. But there will be a lot of great things, concessions, gear to get. So be out there Saturday, April 26th for the spring showcase, as well as baseball, softball, and soccer. There's a lot more details on the tailgate, the showcase, and all of the information you need at NIUHuskies.com. You can also get your 2025 NIU football and volleyball season tickets. They are available now. Tour the premium areas at Husky Stadium while you're out there, and head over to the website to check out information on all of that. We'll see you next Saturday, April 26th. Now let's get into our featured interview for today. It's another new member of the NIU defensive coaching staff. He's got a great track record. I'm going to talk to him all about it. Defensive tackles coach Justin Robinson joins us today on NIU Weekly. Justin Robinson, one of 4 new assistant coaches on the defensive side for NIU. Coach Robinson, thanks for joining us here on NIU Weekly.
Hi, I greatly appreciate it, man. I'm excited to be here.
I'm actually really excited to talk to you because you come from Marian University in Indiana, which is a school that I'm guessing not a ton of NIU fans are familiar with. I am. I'm
Right.
an old NIA guy myself. I went to
Okay.
St. Xavier,
Okay.
so we had a little bit of a rivalry with Marian, both national championship programs. So
Right.
tell us a little bit about your path and how you got to DeKalb.
Yeah. I mean, really, it all started just as I started going through. I started in the ranks of high school. I was a high school coach for a few years. After that, actually, my first college job was at a Division III school. Coached at Hanover College. Had a great time there. Coach Theobald did an unbelievable job mentoring me there. From there, I was blessed to get an opportunity to go to UT Martin. Had a great time down there with Jason Simpson, the head coach down there. Learned a lot again from him. Learned the ways of how to do some things. I was very impressed with him as a head coach, and just the tutelage and leadership he gave me was awesome. And once I left UT Martin, just kind of like you stated, I had 2 years at Marion, where I was a defensive coordinator and associate head coach. And from there, I was blessed enough to receive a phone call from Coach Ham, and now I'm in DeKalb. So it's been a blessing for sure.
I think you got my alma mater last year. You guys beat St. Xavier. I'll try
We
not to hold
did
that.
beat St. Xavier. Yeah.
I'll try not to hold that against you too much. But
Yeah, we did
uh,
beat them.
you're from Indiana, so obviously University of Indianapolis, Marion, you get to be at home. You made the decision to leave Indiana, come to the Chicagoland area, Northern Illinois, DeKalb. What went into that decision?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Coach Ham, having a man like him that's a great leader. You kind of see him on the outside of things, and you see how he talks to the media, how he does certain things, and it strikes your interest, right? You see a guy like him leading at such a high level. You kind of want to know what that's about. And then also the tradition within the program, right? Pretty much everywhere I've been, it's been extremely tradition rich. So going places that understand how to do things, when to do things, why we do things, was very intriguing to me. And then, like I said, once I met Coach Ham and met the rest of the staff, and I was given the yes, I want to hire you. I mean, it was a no-brainer for me.
How did that conversation begin with Coach Hammock? You were the 2023 NAIA Assistant Coach of the Year, so obviously you have a really strong track record. But at what point did you start that conversation with Coach Hammock that led to you getting here?
It was a random day in January. I received a phone call. We had a great conversation. Just getting to know me, really getting to know my why, getting to know a little bit more about my background. We had some similarities with my wife being from Fort Wayne. So that was pretty cool. But really it was a great conversation. It was very straightforward. I can honestly say the man that he said he was going to be is the man that he is every single day. And I have a lot of respect for that, because you don't find that a lot in this business, right? You kind of someone tells you they're one way and then you meet them in person and they're completely different. But Coach Ham's been the same man that he said he was going to be. He's done the same things he said he was going to do. And again, for me, it was a no-brainer once I really saw him in person, and he was a man of his word.
You talked a little bit earlier about the tradition here at NIU. Coming from an NAIA program the last couple of years, how much have you been able to keep up with what NIU has accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, when you're a ball coach, you watch ball, right? You watch ball no matter what. And obviously, the shockwave across the nation hit. We were actually in season when that happened. And just like many other people, we were like, yeah, that's awesome. Because you always want to root for the underdogs too, right? But just kind of being able to see what has happened here, right? From the Boneyard victories to the bowl games to the MAC championships, you kind of start adding all those things together, and you're able to formulate in your mind that this is a really good program. It's led by really good people. The structure's there. And then also when you start kind of looking at and hearing about some of the coaches that have actually been through NIU, you realize how rich the coaching tree is as well. So it was a pretty cool thing for me. And like I said, while you're in season, you don't really have too much time to really dive and look at other teams. You're worried about what you're doing. But I definitely took notice after the Notre Dame game and really started following them more and more. And I just felt like on my timeline, it was more and more conversations with Coach Ham and, the rest of the guys and stuff that was going on here. So it was kind of interesting.
You've been up and down the coaching ladder at the college football level, a lot of different levels of college football. What is the biggest difference to you in working with an FBS school?
I'll be honest, resources. When you're a small school guy, you're so used to doing everything yourself. You wear so many hats. And in a way, it makes you extremely versatile, right? I think when you get to the FBS level, you don't need to wear as many hats. Obviously, you're still going to be the mentor, the coach, the father figure that you are, but now you don't have to go be the equipment guy, right? You don't necessarily have to go paint stripes on the football field, but if we had to, 100%, we still do it. You still walk into everything that no job is too small, no job is too big for you to do. But I would just say at the FBS level, it's the resources, and then obviously, the self-explanatory guys are bigger, faster, stronger. But football's football, right? So that doesn't change as much.
I got to talk to the new defensive coordinator, Rob Harley, last week, and we talked about a lot of the new faces on the defensive side of the ball, coaching wise. You're one of a lot of new coaches on that staff this year. One of the guys that you're working with, though, specifically on the defensive line is Travis Moore, who has been around this program for a long time as a player and as a coach. How do you work well together?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I think we feed off each other a lot. Coach Moore has done an unbelievable job of just getting me acclimated with DeKalb, getting me acclimated with the culture, the climate. And I look at him as a guy that it's beyond just a colleague, right? He's a guy, again, he's one of those guys that's very authentic, very genuine, he's very passionate. We're both very passionate about this game and very passionate about our players. And Coach Moore has been awesome, man. I can't speak more highly about him and how he's helped me transition and just day-to-day things I learned from him. And it's a nugget here, a nugget there. And I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's a phenomenal coach. And I understand, why he has such passion for this university that he does.
The defensive line was such a strength of this team last year, and a lot of names that fans are familiar with are gone from last year, but there are some that are coming back. In particular, on the interior, though, it's going to be a lot of turnover from year to year. So, working with a lot of new players on this roster, what have you seen so far in spring practice?
Yeah, the guys work extremely hard. The effort is always there. They're a very physical, violent group. And it's a group that's maturing every day. I'm excited from where we started to where we are now, and just kind of how we're going to continuously progress. The guys, they run to coaching. There's never a complaint. So it's really it's exciting. How good I believe that unit can be. And like you said, it's a lot of no name faces right now, but it's going to be a group that they're going to make this university proud for sure, and they're going to continue the tradition of being a really good defensive front here.
We're certainly looking forward to getting to know some of those names over the course of this next season. There are two freshmen in particular that Coach Hammock has mentioned by name, Montreal Canyon and Jordan Bellamy. When you're working young guys like that into the rotation, they just enrolled in January and already jumping into spring practice. What do you see from guys like that who are trying to work their way into college and into the defensive line rotation?
Yeah, you first thing you notice, they're gifted, right? They're two gifted young men. They're two gifted young men that, again, just like I said a minute ago, they run to the coaching. They're consistently asking questions. They're consistently wanting to know how they can be better in a certain spot. They want to know more about their technique, their details. Coach Ham has a saying, "Be brilliant in our details." And that's something that these guys are truly embodying. And it's fun coaching them, to be honest with you. Both of them jokesters, they have great personalities. They work extremely hard, and they're two young guys that, you don't know what their future lies as far as if they're gonna play or how they're gonna play, but you want to continue to try to develop them as much as you can. And then the rest takes care of itself from there. But yeah, during the spring, they're doing a great job right now.
Couple of weeks into spring practice right now. What has been your major emphasis with the defensive line and how it fits into the defense as a whole?
Yeah, the biggest thing is, obviously, you always harp on your fundamentals, right? You always revert back to how you do things. So it's been very fundamental based. It's been, making sure we continuously play with that edge that we have, making sure we continuously play with that physicality that we have. I think we're pretty physical, we're pretty athletic. So there's some things that these guys can do, that guys their size you wouldn't expect them to be able to do, right? So just continuously harping on the details, right? Foot placement, hand placement, eyes, hands, feet, pad level. You want to continuously harp on those fundamentals. So when they get into stressful environments, their fundamentals never leave them. So I think those guys are doing a good job adjusting to all that. I think those guys are doing a good job of picking up our defensive system. And they're doing a good job of bringing the juice to practice every day. So I'm proud of that group.
Coach Justin Robinson, it's been great getting to know you over the last few minutes. I know it's been great for the fans to get a chance to get to know you as well and the rest of the new members of this NIU coaching staff. So thanks so much for the time. Welcome to DeKalb. Thanks for being here on NIU Weekly.
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you.
It was a great talk with Justin Robinson. It was exciting to be able to talk to him about his background and what he sees for the future of NIU football as well. But we're going to transition away from the football team a little bit because I teased at the beginning of this show, this was a record-breaking week in the world of NIU athletics. I want to talk about all of those records. We're going to start chronologically with the softball team because last Saturday at Buffalo, the Huskies broke the single game record for runs batted in with 20 of them. It was just a 5-inning win. They had enough to get it done by plenty. They needed an 8-run lead after 5. They had an 18-run lead after 5. They beat Buffalo 20-2. Those 20 runs tied the school record. which was set in 1982. So it's a 43-year-old record. If they played a full 7 innings, I think they would have probably beaten it pretty easily. But the 20 runs ties the record. And in that game, Jenna Turner also broke the single game record for runs scored individually. She scored 5 runs as NIU moved up to number 5 in the MAC standing. So they're on a roll heading into this weekend series at Kent State. One day later on Sunday in DeKalb, the NIU women's tennis team defeated Buffalo. Sorry to Buffalo. They've been at the receiving end of a couple of NIU records this week, but they earned their 21st dual match win of the season, surpassing the previous record of 20, which was set 40 years ago in 1985. With that win, NIU also won the MAC West Championship for the first time in school history. So it was a really exciting victory over Buffalo on Sunday. They also, obviously, with that MAC West Championship, clinched a spot in the 4-team MAC tournament. It's the first time that they'll be appearing in the MAC tournament since 2017. We've been talking about the team records with the women's tennis, but individually were their singles win over Buffalo. NIU junior Natalie Nanova broke the singles season record for singles wins with her 29th of the season. She passed Husky great Nellie Ewell, who won 28 in 2014-15. So really exciting stuff with the women's tennis team, but we've been tracking that record for a while. We knew that 21st win of the year was going to come eventually. One record that kind of popped up out of the blue was later in the week in Evanston. The NIU baseball team exploded for 27 runs. And like the softball team earlier in the week, because of the runs rule, they didn't even play a complete game. They scored 27 runs in only 7 innings. They beat Northwestern 27-11. The Huskies also drew a school record 11 walks in that game. And not a record, but certainly something worth talking about. They defeated a Big Ten team for the second time this season. It's the first time in 22 years that NIU has had more than one win over a Big Ten school in the same season. So really good stuff from the NIU baseball team. In that game, senior CJ Sapicki became the first Husky to hit 2 grand slams in a single game. He hit those homers in the 2nd and 7th innings. And with his 8 RBIs for the game, he also tied the NIU single game record. He, by the way, also scored 5 runs. So he accounted for 13 runs, 5 scored, 8 RBIs in that 27-11 win over Northwestern. You never know which records are going to fall on any given day. It has been an incredible week at NIU, and it's just one more in the many reasons to follow all of the Huskies social media accounts. We're on X, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can follow us on X at NIU Athletics, on Facebook and Instagram. We are at NIU Huskies. And of course, you know how to find the YouTube channel. You're here right now, but always make sure to track NIU Athletics on the NIU Athletics official YouTube channel. The Spring MAC championship seasons have started. So we had a great week last week, but this week coming up, the NIU women's golf team is in Muncie, Indiana, where the MAC championship tournament gets underway on Sunday. After its big midweek win over Northwestern, the Husky baseball team is home to face Akron this weekend, while softball is on the road at Kent State. Track and field heads to Texas for the Michael Johnson Invitational. And with its MAC tournament spot secured, the women's tennis squad takes on Miami with a chance to earn a share of the MAC regular season championship. Let's take a full look at the schedule. Akron, again, here in DeKalb for that baseball series this weekend, while softball is at Kent State. Women's golf at the MAC championships in Muncie, and that will run all the way through Tuesday. Baseball is at Valparaiso on Tuesday to wrap up our schedule for this week. That's going to do it for this week of NIU Weekly. Thanks to our editor, Kevin Meyer. Thanks to Donna Turner for helping to put this together behind the scenes every week. And of course, a big thank you once again to Justin Robinson, our excellent guest on today's show. Thanks lastly to you for always watching and supporting us. Check out the Husky social media channels for all the latest news on NIU athletics, and download the free NIU Huskies app to access team schedules, rosters, updated scores, and more. Please continue to like and subscribe to the NIU Athletics official YouTube channel. And remember, once again, to purchase your 2025 football and volleyball season tickets anytime at niuhuskies.com/tickets, or by calling 815-753-PACK. That's 815-753-7225 during regular business hours, Monday through Friday. Of course, you can also get those when you're out here on April 26th. It's the Huskies' last run through the MAC this coming season. You don't want to miss a minute of the action. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, Terry Bonadonna signing off. Go Huskies.